Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County Forum for candidates for Everett School District Director, Position 5. I'm Karen Crowley, President-elect of our League. This forum is being live streamed to our League YouTube channel, so to those of you in the virtual space, thank you for joining us. We refer to these primary forums as virtual doorbelling. We ask a short series of questions, the kind of questions you might ask if a candidate came to your door. Our questions are designed to give you a clear idea of each candidate's experience and the issues they believe are important to address. A recording of this forum will be available on this same YouTube channel for later viewing. Now, let me provide some background on the position. School district directors set policies on curriculum, such as books, dress codes, disciplinary actions. They hire superintendents. They set district budgets. They work with teachers, administrators, parents, and community members to support all aspects of K through 12 education. The candidates for Everett School District Director Position 5 are Charles Adkins, Janelle Burke, Ryne Rohla, and Ryne Rohla. Ms. Burke is not participating in this forum today. The League thanks all the candidates for running for office, for their willingness to serve the community if elected, and for participating in this forum. It's the policy of the League to be nonpartisan. Therefore, we neither endorse nor oppose candidates or parties. We do take positions on issues which we've studied and on which we've reached consensus. The rules for participation were sent ahead of time to all the candidates, and they've agreed to engage in respectful communication throughout the forum. Let me briefly explain the question and answer period rules, and then we can begin. I will pose the questions, and I'll clearly state the amount of time allowed for each answer. We're using a countdown timer that's visible to all the candidates, and time limits will be strictly enforced. I'll change the starting order for each question, alternating candidates in the starting position so we can have a fair sequence. The order for the first question will be Ryne Rohla, then Ryne Rohla, and then Charles Adkins. So let's begin. Candidates, you'll have 2 minutes to answer this first question. And the question is this: what are the major issues that you feel need to be addressed by this office? And please explain why you are focusing on these issues. Mr. Rewolinski.
Hi there. Thank you. I'm Ryne Rohla. The issues that I feel are most important are school safety, teacher and staff excellence, intellectual freedom, and fiscal responsibility. As a parent to youngsters in elementary, middle, and high school, I see every day the different social, emotional, and physical needs of our children, but safety means different things at every stage of a youngster's journey, from traffic patterns to illegal substances and violence. Our policies and protocols must be comprehensive to provide a safe, inclusive environment for all teachers and staff, learning environment. Teacher and staff excellence. Our kids are still recovering from the disruption caused by COVID. Many kids are behind in their learning and emotional development. Our teachers and staff should be aware of the latest developments in education, training, and de-escalation techniques. Our teachers must be equipped to provide a world-class education to our youngsters. Intellectual freedom. I'm committed to an open curriculum that'll foster critical thinking skills by presenting all sides of complex issues. Our kids need to be able to see all the sides and discuss them intelligently with peers, teachers, and staff, and parents to grow intellectually. I'm also committed to ensuring our kids leave the public school system with the path that they want to take, whether it's vocational or higher education. Fiscal responsibility. We're facing an uncertain future financially, as we've seen with the recent budget deficit. I'll work hard to ensure that we provide an excellent education to all of our kids, that we protect jobs and we protect taxpayers. I'm prepared to help us thread that needle as a financial expert. We must find sophisticated, creative solutions to our financial challenges.
Thank you. Mr. Rohla, same question for you. Major issues, please.
I'm Dr. Ryne Rohla. I'm a PhD economist, father to 1 daughter in Everett Public Schools and 2 future EPS students, and uncle to 5 more. I'm a graduate of Snohomish County Public Schools, attending Stanwood High School and Everett Community College. The Washington State Constitution promises ample education to all students, regardless of demographic. EPS increasingly fails provide adequate education across the board. 51%, the majority of EPS students, do not meet state competency standards in math, up from 40% 6 years ago. 44% do not meet science standards, and 36% fall short in English. Despite this, graduation rates remain high at 93%, creating skills illusions which devalue diplomas and short circuits public education's power to jumpstart upward economic mobility. Poor post-graduation preparation doesn't end there. Dual credit program use has fallen in the past 5 years, with program payments down 7%. AP in college and high school enrollment is down 10%, while the number of students in Running Start and Tech Prep has barely moved. High-quality education, tailored to the individual interests and talents of students, should springboard them into their next phase of life, not leave them rudderless. Safety and mental health also need much attention. Drug abuse is so common it's closed bathrooms for entire floors at Everett High School. Fights, bullying, and classroom disruption make regional headlines. Absenteeism is up, enrollment is down, and the district faces a $28 million budget deficit, meaning we'll have to address all these issues with fewer resources going forward. As an economist, I'm experienced in getting the best outcome possible given limited resources. I believe constraint fosters innovation, and will certainly need creativity to solve EPS's challenges, but solve them we must. Climbing to education excellence is paramount to ensuring our region's enduring vitality and keeping the lofty promise of our state's constitution, that every person deserves access to the boundless American dream.
Thank you. Mr. Adkins, same question for you, major issues.
I agree. I'm Charles Adkins. Student well-being, both physical and mental, is one of my primary concerns. If students do not feel safe, if they are experiencing food and housing instability in their lives, or if they are struggling with their mental health, then they are not going to thrive academically and reach their full potential. And when the students are hurting and struggling, so are the teachers and school staff. We are hearing it again and again from teachers, from school bus drivers, and from guidance counselors, but things have changed since students have returned to in-person classes. They are struggling to pay attention, to socialize with their peers in healthy ways, and to behave appropriately in the classroom. School employees' well-being is a major concern as well. Staff and teachers shouldn't feel too exhausted to come to work, and they should never feel unsafe on the job. They are the backbone of the district, and we need to prioritize supporting them. Teachers teach best when their students feel safe and have their basic needs met, and students learn best when their teachers feel safe and have their basic needs met as well. Another one of my concerns is how schools can better serve our homeless students. There are over 1,500 students and families experiencing some form of homelessness in our district. This is the highest it has ever been, and the trend is likely to continue. We need to expand programs like the Kids in Transition program, as well as strengthen our partnerships with organizations serving homeless students and families. And the last one I'll talk about is overcrowding in schools. In my work on the Rethink Housing Action Plan Committee and on the Planning Commission, it has become very clear that we are going to need to start building new schools in this district soon. Everett's population is expected to almost double by 2044. Many of our schools are already overcrowded and at maximum capacity. Current plans to accommodate future growth are not sufficient in the long term. We need to start planning and acting now rather than doing damage control in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, you have 90 seconds for the next two questions. So timer, please adjust the clock. And the question will go first to Mr. Rohla, and it is this. The Everett Herald recently reported on increased incidences of fighting in the Everett School District, particularly in middle schools. What action, if any, would you take as a school board member? Mr. Rohla.
The Evergreen Middle School sees 2 fights a day is frankly unacceptable, if not overly surprising. I mean, student discipline has been in sharp decline since the pandemic. EPS suspends students only half as often as 3 years ago. I've talked to a number of teachers who simply feel administration won't back them up if they punish classroom disruption. All the research I've seen shows that when you're dealing with antisocial behavior, whether crime or bullying, deterrence is a direct function of how likely you are to get punished for your actions. The actual punishment strength only sees diminishing returns. Basically, you have to walk the walk, which EPS has struggled to do. It's hard to be credible when Evergreen doesn't even have a school resource officer to handle violent situations and instead puts teacher and staff in harm's way. Reducing violence in school means both clamping down on demand for violence and alleviating the sources of its supply. First, we must address cyberbullying. I strongly support an enforced ban on social media and the limits on smart devices in schools. The fact that there was an Instagram feed dedicated to videos of Evergreen Middle School student fights boggles my mind. How much student pain could have been avoided without this incentive to literally beat likes out of people? Further, I support improving overall mental health with physical activity throughout the school day, improved nutrition standards and meals, and by refocusing counseling towards underlying causes and root trauma. This will not only reduce the violence and increase mental health, but will increase attention spans, reduce self-harm risk, and lead to happier and more well-adjusted graduates.
Thank you. Mr. Adkins, same question for you, please.
This rise in violence did not happen in a vacuum. Students today have a multi-year gap in their social emotional learning during critical periods of their development. Although disciplinary measures are important in holding students accountable for harm that they have caused, simply punishing students is not going to fix this problem. We need to address the issue at its root and integrate solutions into daily learning. Social emotional skills are a huge part of this. Our youth need help learning how to deal with anger, stress, and challenging social situations. There are a lot of evidence-based practices such as breathing exercises and nonviolent communication curriculum, which have been shown to decrease harmful and disruptive behaviors in school environments. As a school board member, I would work on implementing trauma-informed, evidence-based practices into our school environments. I'd also work to expand partnerships with organizations such as Domestic Violence Services of Snohomish County, which offers a teen dating violence prevention program at no cost and can relieve some of the burden from teachers and staff and supplement our curriculum. As we are making these changes, we should be listening carefully to student input and getting to know their understanding of the problem. They see what's happening as well, sometimes even better than parents, teachers, or administrative staff do. But most importantly, they are the ones who shape the school culture. Including students in the conversations and decision-making process is going to be key in creating a safer learning environment.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Rewolinski, please.
The first thing I believe the board really needs to do is support an in-depth investigation about these claims, especially at Evergreen Middle School. Some of these reports are, frankly, I don't know. I think we just need to slow down and do an investigation. I think the board needs to act deliberately after hearing from investigators, and the board will need to consider recommendations from parents, teachers, staff, administrators, and other experts at the state or national level that are prepared to help us navigate and solve these issues. Additionally, the board needs to demonstrate its commitment by reviewing the protocols for reporting incidents and determine what changes to current policies could bring issues into the light before they have disastrous results. I would push for district level safety and incident reporting to the board and to the public about what types of issues are arising in our schools and stay on top of whether we're seeing improvements on a regular basis. We need these types of things to be front and center so that we can course correct when we aren't achieving desired results. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question starts with Mr. Adkins, and it's this. What qualifications and experience make you a good choice to address the issues that you've raised? Mr. Adkins.
I've been working on education and children's issues for a while now. As a policy analyst for the Tulalip Tribe specializing in child welfare, housing, education, and transportation policy, I research and advocate for policies that benefit tribal youth. In my past job as the Director of Health Policy for the Children's Alliance, I advocated for dental health care for kids, more mental health supports for students, and school-based health centers. I also have experience with securing funding for school districts. I'm a founding member of Best Schools Marysville, a political action committee created to campaign for the February 2023 Marysville School District levy after it had failed multiple times through coalition building and get out the vote efforts. On the state level, I worked with Senator Emily Randall on writing and passing Senate Bill 5800, which created a pilot program for public four-year universities and our community colleges to provide wraparound supports for homeless and foster youth. It was expanded into a permanent program this last legislative session. I've also worked on other state bills, including the 2019 sex ed bill and legislation to expand veterans' educational benefits. I also serve on several boards and commissions. I'm the vice chair of the City of Everett's Planning Commission and the interim executive director of the Blue Collar Fund, which assists disadvantaged folks seeking a career in the trades. I'm also on the board of Cocoon House, and I also have lived experience as a formerly homeless youth and someone who relied on the services that I now advocate for. I know what it is like to try and focus on school when I don't know where I'm going to sleep that night or where my next meal is going to come from.
Thank you. Mr. Rewolinski.
I'm a parent to 3 kids in the district. I have a unique perspective that spans ages and schools. I recognize that our kids' intellectual, social, and emotional needs change dramatically over their development and in their school age years. I'm also acutely aware of how our approach towards showing our love, encouragement, and our stewardship over their journey to adulthood needs to adapt. I'm committed to the success of all of our youngsters. They're our future. I'm humble and a listener. I'm prepared to provide my financial expertise as a CPA as we enter challenging times financially. A strong board is one with unique skill sets and unique perspectives. There aren't currently any finance folks on the board, and I know what I don't know, and I'm committed to learning and addressing the needs and perspectives of all stakeholders to help drive a bright future for our kids and the next generation. Thanks.
Thank you. And Mr. Rohla, qualifications and experience, please.
Prior to my current work for the state, I taught freshman economics at WSU for 4 years and tutored math at EWU before that. I saw the direct output of our high schools, and a lot of it wasn't pretty. Many freshmen needed multiple remedial courses just to catch up with 101 material, and many were only there because they were told it was the only path to a worthwhile job, while many ran up decades of debt only to drop out without a degree. Students don't benefit from the college or bus mindset our schools create. That's why I'm a strong believer in promoting the skilled trades to students. But you still need to be competent in math and English to become an apprentice or operate technical machinery or infrastructure. Schools are not teaching in ways that promote actual learning, but are ingraining lifelong habits of cramming and forgetting for one-off tests. Real learning requires application, building intuition, and feeling your way around inside an idea. So while testing is important, I've always preferred simulation, games, competitions, and real-life application, and students did as well. I'm a big believer in science-proven pedagogy, which gives students the tools to figure out problems, giving students runway to go as far as they can with the skills they have, and in specialization of material as to provide patience and focus for struggling students. I'm optimistic, for example, that generative AI may provide tailored tutoring options at low cost. But I have experience in the classroom experimenting with what works and doesn't, something invaluable when our current path is not consistently producing successful students.
Thank you. Timer, please note that candidates will have 60 seconds for the next 2 questions, and we'll start this next question with Mr. Rewolinski. Councils, commissions, and boards are required to deliberate and make decisions in public and to hear from those whose opinions may differ. Please give us an example that demonstrates your ability to work in this way.
Sorry. When I was working at a local aerospace company, we were facing significant challenges with a geographically and technically diverse group of people. I provided data analysis and critical thinking in making recommendations about the best course of action, which resulted in consolidation of facilities without reductions in force. This effort involved nearly 100 individuals broken up into 13 teams from every functional area of the company, including quality, facilities, finance, marketing, IT, HR, supply chain, environmental health and safety. I worked in a collaborative environment where I was party to negotiating different viewpoints, assessing different outcomes, and advocating and moving forward with consensus. I was appointed to the steering committee, which was a small group of leaders and owners where I provided updates on the financial status of our strategic initiative and offered recommendations about issues we were facing. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rohla, same question for you.
When I was an academic, my research focused on the negative social and economic impacts of effective political polarization, that is, people's visceral dislike of the opposite party. I deeply believe our growing intolerance of ideas outside of those of our own side will be an existential threat to our country, as it tears away our ability to solve every other issue. This is why I support the work of organizations like Braver Angels, which bring together a wide range of viewpoints to discuss contentious issues in good faith. Personally, I'm a believer in being epistemically humble and recognizing that what I know may be wrong and vice versa. New data should always be able to refine or change beliefs, and differing ideas are not personal attacks, but chances for growth. There's always some core truth, emotional or intellectual, worth digging for. That's part of why my own beliefs don't fit particularly well with any party and why I can be comfortable in quite progressive settings, including government and academia, or quite conservative ones. I believe there's always more to learn.
Thank you. Mr. Adkins.
In 2021, I was appointed by the Everett Mayor to serve on the Rethink Housing Action Plan Committee, and I was honored by the other committee members who selected me as the chair of that committee. The purpose of the committee was to create a housing action plan for the city of Everett and then present it to the city council. I found that I had differences with some of the other committee members in what our vision for the future of housing in Everett should be. I was seeking reduced parking minimums, higher density, and making it easier for residents to build accessory dwelling units. Other members of the committee were skeptical and had different priorities in mind. They were concerned that there would not be enough infrastructure to support these changes and that the development would change the character of the neighborhood. During public testimony and community outreach to residents, some members of the public shared the same concerns. As chair, it was my job to create a plan that reflected what the residents and the other committee members wanted, not what I wanted. Even though I did not personally agree with every element, I tried to ensure that the plan we sent to the city council was representative of what the residents and other committee members wanted, not the vision that I personally had.
Thank you. Well, we've come to our final question, and we'll start this question with Mr. Rohla. Please tell us something about your life experience that might surprise or intrigue voters.
I've published a paper in science, worked with the New York Times, and earned taxpayers over $40 million through my antitrust work. But all of that was really close to not happening because I nearly failed out of community college at 18. Not because I couldn't do the work, but because I had no motivation or direction. I worked a couple summers hauling 50-pound swing stage counterweights to the top of Everett and Seattle high-rises. But I ultimately found I lacked the skills to succeed in blue-collar trades. It's one thing to fail because you didn't try, and another to fail despite your best efforts. The latter breaks your illusions and forces you to confront your true self. I transferred to Eastern Washington for a clean slate, and there I found a professor who still had a fire for the material he taught, who wasn't satisfied with mediocrity. He believed in me, and soon I believed in myself. The fire he shared kept me warm as I climbed the academic mountain toward my dreams. This I wish for every EPS student, that they might be moved by this force which moved me so, that together we might all climb higher toward an ever more excelling summit.
Thank you. Mr. Adkins.
I had a rather unique educational experience. I spent my early elementary years in a small rural town in far northern California. When my father joined the Army, our family moved all around the country and eventually to Fort Lewis here in Washington, where I went to school on base and at local public schools. In 6th grade, I went to a tribal-run school in Puyallup called Chief Leschi. And later, my freshman year of high school, I was sent to Chemawa Indian School, one of the few remaining boarding schools still ran by the federal government, created as Kill the Indian, Save the Man. Chemawa was an awful place. While there, I was witness to rampant abuse, neglect, and corruption prevalent not just throughout the school, but the entirety of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Schools ran by the Bureau of Indian Affairs rank as some of the lowest performing schools in the country. While there, I saw what happens to students who have no hope for their future, no support, no encouragement from staff or teachers. After I became homeless as a 15-year-old, I found my way to Everett High, where I graduated. I received an excellent education. And ultimately, I'm running because I want to do everything I can to ensure that no other kid has to face the same barriers and challenges that I did.
Thank you very much. And last word goes to Mr. Rewolinski.
Thanks. When I graduated high school in 2001, I wasn't ready for school or for college. So I joined the Navy. It was challenging, but it gave me the discipline and the maturity I needed anyway. I'm reasonably smart. So I qualified to work in the intelligence community, actually, and I served on fast attack submarines. After I was honorably discharged in 2008, though, I was certainly motivated. My wife and I had 2 of our kids, and I took a max load under the GI Bill and got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree in 3 years because I was highly motivated to get to work and provide for my young new family.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing your qualifications, your issues, and a little bit of your personal experience with us. The League appreciates these candidates for joining us and for running for office. And we'll remind you that a recording of this forum and others will be available on the League of Women Voters of Snohomish County website and YouTube channel, and you can find links at lwvsnoho.org. We encourage you to explore additional information about these and about all candidates. The Snohomish County Voters Pamphlet will be mailed to residences starting July 12th. Ballots will be mailed starting July 13th, and Election Day is August 1st. Please be a voter. Thank you to our candidate forum team, and special thanks to Dave Moon and the Sultan School students at TurkPride.tv who made this live stream possible. And of course, thank you all for joining us. This concludes our candidate forum.